two presenters. We've got Kelly and Eric Madison from Number 9 Steakhouse and Mr. Wade from Ruby Concrete. So Kelly and Eric are going to go first, so without further delay, Kelly and Eric.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Today. Good. All right. Well, a lot of you all know us. We are the owners of Number 9 Steakhouse, right across the street, actually. Number 9 is a premier steakhouse. We serve fine steaks, a lot of fine seafoods, fresh seafoods. That is kind of our main, I mean, steak isn't our name, so you kind of can't miss it. We serve lunch, dinner, we even do a Sunday brunch. Now, we've been doing that for almost a year now. So we've incorporated some different kinds of breakfast items into our menu and that sort of thing. So always new and different kinds of things going on at the steakhouse. Just wanted to present a little bit on how Eric and I got to be at the steakhouse. I'm from Madisonville, Eric is from Louisville. I started working for Mr. Terry, both Harris and Phil Terry, actually the day before I turned 16, which was kind of illegal. The day before I turned 16. No, it was a whole big family thing. My sister started working there, so I started working at Backyard Burgers a long time ago when I was real young. And I worked there for several years, and then decided to go off to college to Sullivan University, where I graduated with started in culinary, and then finished up with hotel and restaurant management. Eric also went to Sullivan. We were about 5 years apart, so we didn't actually meet at school, but he graduated with the culinary degree. We met in Louisville and started dating, obviously. And whenever I had graduated from Sullivan, Mr. Terry, both Terrys, knew what we had done and what I was doing, and that, you know, I could possibly help him with this new adventure. So he contacted us to see, or me, to see if wanted to help him get Number 9 open and operating and kind of help him with that. So I did. For about 8 months, I was here helping them get the steakhouse up and going. We opened actually the day before my birthday again in 2010. So I left. I was contracted out for just a few months, you know, and once everything was up and operating and going, I left and went back to Louisville to be with my hubby here. And then we moved to North Carolina, did a few things. He was the executive chef at Duke Hospital. I worked as a food and beverage manager at the People School of Business at Duke University. I know Duke is really a bad name to mention in this town, but we're going to do what we're going to do. And then Harris and Phil once again contacted us, knew he was a chef, knew that we were getting married, and that sort of thing, and kind of asked if we'd be interested in this opportunity. And when a good opportunity like that kind of smacks you right in the face, you kind of can't say no. So we jumped on the bandwagon, and here we are. So 2 years, we've been here for about 2.5 years. We've owned it for almost 2. So that's a little bit of history of how we got to the steakhouse. 1 Million Cups is, we've been coming several times and heard a lot of presenters and that sort of thing. And I really feel like 1 Million Cups is a good tool to use. We do have a few challenges that we would like to present, you know, for some ideas and that sort of thing on what we need to do and kind of what your thoughts and ideas are, you know, who to say who has the next $1 million idea. So that's kind of what we're wanting to use today for and to present our business. We care a lot about local fresh foods. We have our own garden. My lovely mother over here and my father, they grow a lot of vegetables for us during the spring, summer, and into the fall that we can use at the restaurant. We're part of the Kentucky Proud program. We really, if we could get the distribution lines down to this area, you know, we would be more involved with it. It's just a little bit difficult for being in a small town, which is one of our challenges that we face, is getting the freshest and the best quality that we can, you know, because we're a little bit off the beaten path here. So we do get in, I mean, about 95% of our seafood is fresh. We cut our own salmon sides, you know. We do pretty much everything in-house. So saying that, 95% of our menu is done in-house. You know, it's all made fresh. It's not poured out of a can. It's not rip open a bag and pour it into something. So one of the challenges that we face is staffing. In town, I know a lot of business owners have probably an issue, small issue with this, is finding staff members. We're not just, I don't guess, a typical restaurant where you do, you know, pour things out of a bag. So having a skill level there is what we kind of require and what we need. You know, our names and the quality is on the food, and we want to serve the best that we can. So finding the staff and trusting the staff and having the staff that's motivated and reliable, you know, to just show up to work, you know, sometimes is a difficult challenge, let alone having the skill set to, you know, prepare the kinds of food that we're asking them to prepare. Everybody could probably char a steak, but not everybody that comes in wants a charred steak. So, you know, knowing how to cook from rare to Pittsburgh style to, you know, well done, you know, you kind of have to be well versed in that. So, staffing, I would say, would probably be one of our number one issues.
With that,
town.
consistency is what we try to preach, and, you know, you see it at the local, or all the chains. So if you go to an Applebee's and you know, Florida and Applebee's here, it's probably gonna be about the same. So trying to get that on a small level to show people, if they had mashed potatoes 2 weeks ago, the mashed potatoes this week will be the same, and the sauce will be the same. You know, trying to be able to walk away from putting the trust in our staff that we put so much time and effort to walk away, where we're not putting in 100 hours a week, where, you know, we're putting in 75, 80. So,
Just.
a little less. And the staff we have, we've come a long way.
Yeah, we do have, we've worked really hard, and a lot of the staff members are still there from 5 years ago, when we first opened. A few of them are, so we're lucky and fortunate that when we find the staff, you know, how do you hold on to them? You know, that's one thing we like to treat our staff, one, with a lot of respect, and they get to have a lot of creativity and not be just stuck in mundane, you know, the same thing kind of every day. But how do we get that consistency as well? And not be so much, since we are there, so much on a friend kind of level, more on a, you know, an employer-employee basis, you know, where when we ask you things to do and that sort of thing, we expect you to do it. So moving on to with staffing, so another challenge that we face is kind of being a seasonal business. Everybody kind of disappears during the summertime around here, and especially since, you know, our business is small. We have a small restaurant. You know, a lot of our guests and clientele, they, you know, travel a lot and go to the lake or, you know, whatever during the summertime. So how to keep business generated during those slow periods is another challenge that we face. And with that, marketing, you know, marketing and advertising, which areas do we use our marketing and advertising dollars the best to get that return? You know, we don't have the corporate marketing power, you know, so which areas do we need to focus on is another challenge, you know, that we're learning. You know, we're new business owners, so as each and every day as we're going along, we're learning more and more and more, and it's always new. So that's another thing that we run into a little bit. With another challenge that we have is kind of the size of our restaurant. Everybody, most people I believe in this room have probably been there at least once. It is a smaller restaurant, so we have to compete though alongside with some of the corporate places in town that have one buying power and that sort of thing. So with only being able to do a certain amount of volume, because we only have a certain amount of seats, you know, how do we compare ourselves in pricing? You know, when they work on volume, you know, you can price things a little bit lower, but you're doing the volume. So that's always something struggling in our mind, because we don't want to price ourselves out of the box. You know, we want everybody to be able to come to us. We want, you know, to be able to have large groups come to us. And we do see, you know, 6, 7, 8 people quite often. Maybe get 10 or 12 in there, but your groups of 15, 20, you know, business groups and that sort of thing would like to probably come there, but they might not fit kind of deal. It's small. So how do we work around that? That's a challenge. And with families, you know, we have the perception of, if you're coming in over 9, you know, you leave your kids with the babysitter, and then you come to eat. It's kind of a special date night kind of feel, which we love. You know, we love being able to cater hand over foot to our guests, you know, and really give them an exceptional experience with food, with service, with everything, and go over the top, you know, a little bit. But that doesn't mean that you can't bring your kids in too to enjoy that kind of experience. So those are a few things, you know, that we face as far as challenges. Like I said, we really focus on being local, being fresh, as fresh as we could possibly be. It's very, very, very important to us to be that, and we don't want to stray away from that. So that's the kind of what sets us apart. You know, what makes us different from our competition is that you get a certain quality, you know, when you do come. So,
questions?
yes, yes.
Kelly and Eric, how big of a part of your business now has catering become? I know 2 years ago you were doing some, and doing a fine job with it, I will add. How big of a part is that, and do you see that as growing or not being the sweet spot for you?
Yeah, we've done a few caterings, yours we've done. We started out kind of small, you know, just doing mainly appetizers, you know, orders, that sort of thing. And we've kind of gradually, you know, tiptoed into the water to see what more we can do. Last year at Christmas, we had our biggest catering event that we've had, and we served a buffet for 150 people. So that was probably the biggest. It strapped us very thin. It was very fun, you know, we loved it, and we did a good job, and everybody was very happy with it. But it was on a Saturday night during the holidays, and with just, like I said, staffing, you know, and we are a small restaurant, so we can't just go find all these people just to come in for this one night.
And then plates, we have to rent that, so we have
Right.
to add a cost.
Right.
We network with SNS Riddles, with Sean, and he usually provides our staffing, so we have a good relationship with them.
That night he
We do
did
the
provide
catering.
some staffing, yeah, for us, so.
And it's, with the size of the kitchen, it's hard to have two things going on with the minimal equipment. You know, we have the equipment to run the restaurant, but then to add catering in the mix as well.
Right.
So we try to schedule caterings, you know, on Mondays, but, you know, we're so one-sided on that too, so you lose business as well, so.
Yeah.
we're
Trying to
working
operate
on-
both is a little bit
The
different.
banquet room has a small kitchenette, so we're looking at maybe expanding that some, because it does have a water source, and I can get a grill over there, and then start doing more caterings in our banquet room on that end. So it's just, you know, putting that, it's on the list, but it's not at the top of the list right now as well.
Okay.
You know, first of all, I want to say thanks. My wife and I have so enjoyed your restaurant so many times, and we really appreciate it. And we loved it that you guys opened it when you did, because my business was struggling at that time, and you guys opened something new and sparkly in town, and thank you. And that couldn't have been an easy time to open. I really think you kind of answered one of your questions with another one of your challenges, which is, you know, how to, you know, marketing, advertising, business is disappearing in the summer. And then when you talk about the date night feel and this kind of tension to be also being kid friendly.
Mhm.
We have a 5-year-old. I can tell you that we're not offended by the notion that Number 9 Steakhouse is kind of a place that she and I go away for dates.
Right,
I wouldn't lose that differentiator.
okay,
I would trade on that.
okay.
And to that extent, I think you guys could do a heck of a job marketing in Evansville, Hopkins, and draw people in. There's just not that many places, even in Evansville. A lot of your type of place has gone away. And I think you can get people to drive 45 minutes down the road. I suspect you
We
can.
do see several people from
Yeah.
Hopkinsville, Henderson, occasionally to Evansville,
As long as you stay different in
Right.
those ways,
Right.
the fresh food, the different,
Right.
consistent experience, you know, that sort of thing. That would be my.
We looked at drawing a line from Clarksville to Henderson.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what newspapers and avenues we could market in.
Yeah,
Figure
Yeah.
out the funds from, you know, an hour one way and an hour the other.
I know this isn't disrespectful to anybody in the room or in the community, but for years and years and years, when I first moved here, we used to go to Horseshoe in Hopkinsville. And to me, that was the best place ever. The steaks were huge, and watching the cook in that teeny tiny kitchen, it was exceptional food. Now, it's changed management, and that food is no longer exceptional. It was really, really bad, actually. And we were there for 45 minutes, everybody with the food. I got my food, it was cold, and it was like little thin, teeny tiny steak. And I was like, oh my God, you guys have broken the circle of trust. You know, so I think you can draw from other areas, because we would go that far, and we would invite friends and stuff to meet us up there. And they're very tiny as well. And the way they moved it might be something you could kind of look around as to how they kind of move things around, or maybe look at your floor plan and change a few structural pieces so that where you can add those tables in there. You know, and change that up somewhat. The other thing I thought of, and I'm this new aficionado of Shark Tank and Profit. I mean, it's killing everybody I know. Like, oh my God, what now? And one of the things I found on one of them is there's this company, and what they did was they excelled in very, very fresh food. And they would prepackage enough for a meal, including the spices and everything. So you could pick it up from them with a card on how to do it, or a little video online they can look to on their website. And they would package it to them and send it to them. And then you can have a beautiful, beautiful restaurant type experience in your home for your family and your friends, and have everything you need in the order that you need it in. And that might be a way also to increase that business that you've got, you know, for people that are having dinner parties or having holiday parties and stuff like that, because you already have the products, just prepackage it like that and maybe market that as well.
We have done something like that before. It was actually like a Thanksgiving dinner. You know, we prepared everything and then made out a whole list of cooking instructions, you know, and that sort of thing, so that the day of Thanksgiving, you could just take it and prepare that, you know.
Oh, he had a big business, and he had people that were
Good idea.
subscribing to it monthly, and he was already in several states in different areas doing it, and they did an amazing job with it. And it was expensive,
Right.
you know, because you have to divide everything up. They use fresh parsley and fresh other products and stuff, and all that was in there, and it was all vacuum sealed like it needed to be, so you could use it in not $20 or so. But that way, I would even think you'd be able to cook like that, because I don't think that.
Good, Kelly. Just a quick question. Would it be useful through you if you had a kitchen that you could rent on a time basis, where you could go in and say, okay, I want this place where, let's say this room is a fully equipped kitchen, nobody else is using it, and it would be for rent for a day, a night, an hour, a
Right.
weekend, whatever. Would that be useful for you?
For the catering side,
You know, but just like on a one-time thing,
Right.
or two, or not for you to come in and run your restaurant out of.
Right.
But just for an occasional use when you've got the 150 people
It could be,
and you
yeah.
need to come in and use the kitchen.
Because we do have another event coming up in May, and we thought, you know, whenever the lady called to schedule, we were like, there's no way we can do that, you know, it was for between 300 and 400 people.
Sure.
And we're like, oh, Lord, you know,
Well,
we're gonna have to tell her to go
what
somewhere else.
brings me to the question is, of course, this is Aaron with Arctic Refrigeration. I figured you knew him, everybody knows Aaron. People are forgetting me, I used to be connected with that. But we've been rolling this around.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, we probably would find that very useful, because like you said, I mean, our kitchen is designed to produce the food for our restaurant, you know.
well, I've been in your
not a whole
kitchen
lot
back
of-
when it was, what was it, a Mexican restaurant. It's, yeah, El Brazil. It was not designed to be a restaurant. It's just kind of, that's what you,
Which they completely redesigned it whenever.
okay.
Yeah,
But
so
the
it's not-
last time I was in it, it was very irregular and hard to work out of, and yeah.
Which, I mean, we
haven't
only
been
have so
since.
much space, you
Yeah.
know, and there's only so much space that we can use. So when we do add, like on a Saturday night or a Friday night, where business is, the volume's already high, and labor and everything is stretched to the max, you know, and then you're throwing in a catering or something. If we had, you know, at a different outlet, you know, sometimes we're trying to use ovens and it's you know, I
We've
got
been
Jameson
rolling
here
this
and I this.
around. Yeah, we've been rolling this
Right.
around versus, since he's the equipment that would be available or could be.
We'd be interested
And
in hearing more.
it's a huge expense to put in a kitchen like that.
Right, right.
You know, I mean, big dollars.
That's why we had to change our kitchen.
But so from the perspective of the owner of a kitchen like that,
Right.
you better have a market. You know, rather than a big empty kitchen sitting there that nobody wants.
Which we've even thought, I believe, Ruth, you were talking about earlier, doing what we call lunch lessons. And it's kind of like where Eric would get up to a group of people who have paid to eat a lunch, and he's teaching you, how to
Sure.
prepare what you're cooking. So that could be a good idea, to have some kind of
It'd
a
be
area for
monthly, so I
chairs.
was seeing it each month,
You
and
know,
have
yeah.
50 people.
Beyond the kitchen, would you need seating for that?
Right, but it could just be like a small.
Just a kitchen?
You know,
You
area
could deal with
inside the
something the
kitchen.
size of this room?
Right. So
Okay,
that could even be an idea for that.
yeah.
It's either one.
I just had a couple of questions for you. When you were talking about size, how does appointment or reservations, how would that help you guys, or is it a detriment to a restaurant? Because I know, I called for Patty's the other day, and I had, 3 months in advance, and I can get in at 9 o'clock,
Right.
a certain night, or whatever. And I know they started out as a hamburger joint, because I was there when they started
Right.
out. And then also, not to mention competition or whatever, but anyway, the Fabio's, you can't hardly get in there unless you have a reservation. And I know he's been able to be successful for quite a few years and everything with that. So I was wondering about that, because a lot of times we might think, oh, well, we want to go to the number 9 and your lot is full, or we know we're going to be waiting for an hour or whatever, maybe to get a seat. So we go, somewhere else rather than to wait. I wondered if that would help you guys with your staffing issues, and possibly it makes you more exclusive, which, like the gentleman over there was talking about date night. Make a reservation so you're sure to be able to get into the number 9.
Right, I think that's kind of what we're trying to balance right now. Do we want to kind of stay with, the idea of what we have, or it's kind of switching into more of it is exclusive, we are being exclusive, and so we're trying to figure out, is that the route, is that where we want to totally go? Is to that exclusivity, people make reservations and you can only get in because, if you do make a reservation and we have, because we do take reservations Tuesday through Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday we do call-in seating, which you call 30 minutes before you're supposed to be arriving, and then by the time you get there, the theory is you shouldn't have to wait too long, to get a table. You're kind of bumped ahead of the list of people who just walk in the door at that very same moment. So we've kind of gone hand, both ways, trying to appease all people. We know we can't appease everybody, that's kind of impossible in a
We
business.
do hear a lot with parking as well. What we see is a full parking, or what you all see is a full parking lot, and what we see is 6 empty tables, but on the outside looking in,
Sometimes
you
it's-
assume that you're on the way for an hour.
Or if we
You
have a
actually
banquet, too.
are wanting those tables to come in, so we've lost a lot of people just perceived, because if we have a banquet going on in the back room, then parking is limited, so we try to have the staff park behind the banquet over on the gravel parts, and,
And just one other comment, anytime that we bring somebody in from out of town, we try to come to your restaurant because we think it's that good and it shows well for our community. And the other day, I had a lady in from Jasper, Indiana, and we went there for lunch. And that was one of the best lunches that I've had in Madisonville. It was really, really good. And I think that should be something, because it was so different. And that's something I think that you guys should really market to the community, because that lunch is,
That's what we're headed towards. This, what you see as a picture on the screen. That's kind of an example of our fresh bar. A lot of the ingredients that my parents grew over the summer, that's what we're using and incorporating into our menus. So with the marketing, that's kind of the direction that we're gonna be going, is just to really hone in on the local and the fresh, and that we are community, that the steakhouse means community. We support it, and that's where we're going with this. So.
One last thing, November 18th, we'll be starting a delivery service at lunch. It'll be our Black Bag lunches. So you'll get a choice of a sandwich. We did a marketing survey in town, kind of figured out what businesses, local businesses, doctors' offices, and our focus group wanted it. And it gets sandwich, chips, and then fresh fruit, dessert, so.
It's awesome.
We'll be.
Yeah, you had it before. It's great. We're also doing a number 9 loyalty program too. I'm Your VIP, who was here a few weeks ago. We paired up with him and are going to start a text rewards program. Also, we have books that we are featured in. Also, The Crowded House is in that book as well. It's the Back Roads of Kentucky that you may purchase today.
I think you did one really good thing today on marketing your business and getting involved with a community like this.
We appreciate all the support.
Everybody tell you.
That's a good comment.
Well, it's good for them. That's right, because everybody in here will help.
Yeah,
right. Yes, Mary.
So,
We appreciate all your support. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say one thing. This is my daughter and my son-in-law. And I just want everybody to know that, my husband and I are extremely proud. We're also very thankful to the Terrys for their, he came to me one day when I was sitting down at Backyard Burgers and asked me about this. And it just blew my mind. I called Kelly and I'm like, hell, you need to call. So anyway, it's a long story. But I'm very